All right, so we're going to first kind of just talk about what we're going to do. So we have two bodies here. We have the Board of Public Works here, and we have the Infrastructure Committee, as well as some other members of the Board of Aldermen. So the idea is, first we need to hold a meeting of the Board of Aldermen to review this, the Board of Public Works, to review this agenda. We have already really voted on some of these things as a joint group, but the Board of Public Works needs to approve the items on our agenda. Once that, and that's a legal requirement, so we're getting this from legal. Once that is over, then we will meet as a group, the joint committee, and go through your agenda. So does anybody have any questions about the procedure or whatever? So the first order of business then is to call the meeting of the special meeting of the Board of Public Works to order on Thursday, November 4th, here at City Hall. Could we begin with the calling of the roll?
Sure. Mayor Donches?
Yes, here.
Commissioner Pappas could not be with us this evening. Commissioner Tees?
Present.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Here.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Here.
All right. Now, first item is an item to cover the introduction. I guess Tim Cummings is going to give this, but have I covered what you were going to cover? Or
You did, Mayor, thank you. Yes, but just very briefly for the edification of this body. In consultation with the city's Corporation Council, it was recommended that we get an explicit vote of the Board of Public Works, and so this is rather routine in nature. I mean, everything that we're going to discuss right now you've already seen already, but we wanted to just make sure we had a very clean and clear file for the project. So that's why we're asking for this specific approval this evening. So the first agenda item, Mr. Mayor, is just approval of schematic design. And your design, your packet had the schematic design that was presented to you in August 10th of 2010. There's been no changes since that approval. So I just ask that the Board of Public Works officially approve what was previously approved with the joint Board of Public Works and Infrastructure Committee.
and then the next item would be the approval of the total project cost.
That's correct.
All right. So is there a motion to approve the schematic design?
So moved, Mayor.
Commissioner Moriarty has moved that. Any questions, discussion on the motion to approve the schematic design from members of the Board of Public Works? Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes, I had a question. For what reason are there two kitchens in this building? One commercial kitchen, one regular kitchen?
There's only one kitchen.
There's only one kitchen.
There are two. There's a commercial kitchen on the first floor, and there's a kitchen meeting room, kitchen lunchroom
Oh, that's,
on the second floor.
oh, that's just a lunchroom for the staff on the second floor. There's not really a kitchen of any sort. I mean, there might be a refrigerator or something, but, and a microwave, but it's not really a kitchen. It's just a lunchroom.
And why does this facility need a commercial kitchen?
Well, the commercial kitchen, we're not gonna have a commercial entity in there, but we wanna have a kitchen so that we can feed our staff when they're plowing for 3 days straight. So we want a kitchen facility to be able to do that.
Okay, so you're going to have the things that commercial kitchens typically have. Fume hoods, all the
Yes.
freezers and all those things. And
Yes.
that's considered necessary?
I believe so, yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. As I've said before, I think that this project is too big, and I think that it's an egregious expense to put on taxpayers at this time. That's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions regarding the motion to approve the schematic design from members of the Board of Public Works, or I suppose anyone, any alderman or anything? All right, if not, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Motion passes. The next item is a request for approval of the total project cost. Is there a motion to approve the total project cost as presented in the package?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Commissioner Moriarty. That appears on page, trying to get the page number. What page number is that?
It's the second page.
Oh, yes.
It's on the, just flip over the second page.
Yeah, it's basically page 3, not counting the agenda, counting the agenda, right at the beginning. Again, this is something we've reviewed before, but are there questions or comments regarding the motion to approve the total project cost? All right, I don't see anything. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Motion passes. Is there now a meeting, now we have legally made the votes of the Board of Public Works, so next step would be to adjourn the meeting, and then Alderman O'Brien will take over as Chair of Infrastructure and conduct the meeting of our total group. So is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Public Works
So
meeting?
moved.
Commissioner Tease makes the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. So the meeting of the Board of Public Works is adjourned, and now we move on to the joint committee of the Board of Public Works and our infrastructure, and the aldermanic infrastructure.
I thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. As chair, I am calling the joint committee meeting to order on November 4th, 2021 at 5:07, or to my military friends, 17:07. For the record, the Joint Committee of Infrastructure and Board of Public Works is being held today, Thursday, November 4th, 2021, right after the Special Board of Public Works meeting located in the City Hall auditorium. Some members and members of the public may be participating via Zoom teleconference. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda on City's website for the meeting link. Director Cummings, could you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mayor Donchis. Here. Alderman O'Brien.
Here.
Alderman Tenza.
Alderman Tenzer has called and he's unable due to family obligations.
Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Lopez has important business, unable to attend.
Alderwoman Schmidt.
Alderwoman Schmidt has called up and is excused by sickness.
And then Alderman Jettie.
Alderman Jettie is
I'm here.
present. And I want to get into, for the record, asked as by our procedure, when somebody is out, and to order to provide a quorum, Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire has graciously accepted that role, and we welcome here and thank you for the meeting. Thank you, Director Cummings. You may continue.
Thank you, yes. And so then therefore the minutes will note that President Wilshire will be participating as a voting member of the committee and will help constitute quorum. Next, we have Commissioner Pappas, who I don't believe is with us this evening. And then we have Commissioner Moriarty,
Here.
Commissioner Tease,
Present.
and Commissioner Shoneman.
Here.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With 7 members present, I believe you have quorum.
Very good, thank you. Other elected officials present, I'd like to recognize Alderman Clee and Alderman Lowe. Also in attendance is Dan Hudson of the City and National Engineering Department. Also in attendance is Tim Cummings, Executive Development Director, and also acting as the committee clerk, and Lisa Foto, Director of Public Works, and also to recognize Mr. Carl Dubois of Harvey Construction. Yes, please, I didn't write your name down, and I missed. Alderman Dowd is also here. Thank you, Alderman Dowd, thank you. All right, let me just catch up. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody, and as you listened to the previous meeting beforehand, we're about ready to get going on this project. So we're going to have basically Director Cummings will be giving us a lot of information and with Mr. Dubois to be discussed on this project. So,
If I may?
yeah,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So just a couple quick comments to orientate this conversation this afternoon. Hopeful today to just go over, and the thrust of the meeting is a life cycle analysis, which Carl Dubois of Harvey Construction is with us to help present today. But then also to just give a general update in terms of where we're at with the project and outline the next steps we'll be taking to maintain the project timeline and schedule, which we're looking to try to get this project under construction in spring of '22. With that being said, Mr. Chair, we may have some people joining us remotely, and I just want to, if that's the case, I just want to make sure they're recognized. I didn't know if anyone has joined us.
I haven't,
You want to pass that to me?
Yeah.
I'll just take a quick.
there you go, super.
I think our Finance and Administration Manager, Carolyn O'Connor, is on.
Okay. Excellent. And so we do have some participants. Diane, okay, Jeff, Carolyn.
Andy.
Okay, and then, so just so folks know, Richard Parks, he's an engineer on the project. He's with us as well, if a question arises. And then Janet Slamenda of HKT Architects is with us as well remotely. So I just wanted to confirm that they are participating, and they are joining us virtually. So, with that all being said, Mr. Chair, if you wanted to make time for public comment, now would be the time to do so on the agenda. If not, we would move on to approval of the minutes.
Well, before we get into the, okay, public comment first?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. I'm not sure if anyone wants to make any comments.
When you read, was there anybody from the public? Well, at first, we'll go with inside the chamber. Anybody from inside the chamber would like to give public comment? Seeing none, we'll now go to Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to give public comment?
I'm not seeing
Give it
anyone.
a second. Not seeing any hands. Nobody chose to, so therefore we'll end the public comment section. Next is a little housekeeping. We did have meetings on May 25th, 2021, and August 10th, 2021. Both have minutes, so without objection, I will accept those two meetings' minutes and place them on file.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a correction to the August 10th minutes on page 13. I think we were all there in attendance. So halfway down the page, it talks about, it has me talking about saying another point, and this was an attempt, one of my unsuccessful attempts at humor. I said, I hope no one is armed in this room when I say this, but to Commissioner Schoeneman's point, and you're not wearing a piece, are you? That was not directed to Commissioner Schoeneman. It was directed to Director Foto, because, and it's listed, as Commissioner Schoeneman saying, no, I don't think she said that. I think it was Director Foto
Yeah.
who
Yeah, that's
said
true.
You're
You're
right.
no.
You're correct.
You're correct.
And then I went on to, and Commissioner Shoneman had raised the point about was there not another building in the city that could serve this purpose? And I said, to Commissioner Shoneman's point, have we looked at the possibility of using the Elm Street Middle School? And the reason I said, you're not armed, are you, is that I know that Director Foto is very anxious about getting this project off the ground, and any delay would upset her, and that was my attempt at humor. And so I would just like the record
Yeah.
to show that was
Yeah,
directed to Director Foto, not
We'll
to
make-
Commissioner Shoneman.
we'll make that
Yeah.
correction.
Thank you.
And the chair agrees. When we compile the new minutes, we'll make sure that clarification
Okay, thank you.
is definitely added. Okay. And Alderman Jettie, we do appreciate your sense of humor, so no problem.
Well, thank you.
Okay. All right, so seeing, other than that, any objection to accepting both minutes? Seeing none, minutes are accepted. Moving on to Article 3 on the agenda.
Construction manager contract? No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, concurrence on the
Concurrence
financing.
on the financial plan.
Yes, so your packet would have basically a high-level memo that outlines a small tweak that came about that I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. The original discussion we had in August, I had indicated our desire or intent was to transfer from the Broad Street Parkway funds $3 million. However, subsequent from that conversation, and unbeknownst to me, there's some additional costs that are lingering out there, and so the thought process would be is not to transfer all 3 million, to transfer 3 million out of the project, leave $1 million still in the project fund for whatever expenses that may still arise, and therefore we'd be only transferring 2 million. I just wanted to be clear on that, so I'm asking that this body just concur on that, on the memo that was presented to you.
Open up for comment. Okay, so without exception, we'll accept the concurrence of the financial plan. Moving on to number 4 on the agenda, approval of the CM contract. Mr. Cummings.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, just for
Absolutely.
1 second, because I just want to make sure I get the number right here. So, yep, thank you, okay. So, Mr. Chair, I'm asking for approval this evening of the AIA Document 133-209, a contract for construction management services with Harvey Construction, and I'm asking for a not-to-exceed figure of $12,025,000. This is our standard contract that we've used time and time again. It's been reviewed by the legal department, and we need to have this body approve it before it gets forwarded on to the full Board of Aldermen for approval. So I request that, that this body help me move the contract along. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments from Alderman Jettie?
Just for clarification, this is with Harvey, not the architect?
This is for construction management services for Harvey.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you looking for a motion, sir?
Right, and right now it's discussion. Well, yeah, I will look for a motion, then we'll have the discussion on the
I'll
motion.
move to approve the contract as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Teese. Again, any other discussion on the motion? I do have one question, if I may. Just came from a wonderful opening, and I give my congratulations to the Joint Special Committee that worked on the Fairground School, and also in attendance was Mr. Dubois. That is beautiful what you have done, and I think the key to the best thing that we can do is to value education, and I think the new modernization of the facility reflects that. But some words were mentioned, and it's somewhat of, today in the COVID world, and as we get into this, this might be the time to discuss supply issues or anything else that I hear in the construction industry. And I hate to put, Mr. Dubois, you on the hot seat for this, because God only knows. But I think you know what I'm looking at, and, if you would like to explain that, please.
Yeah, thank you. The industry right now is in a bit of a turmoil. As everybody's saying, there's definitely supply chain issues. Been trying to keep the committee, in particular, Mr. Cummings and the director informed and the architect informed on what we're seeing for lead times in terms of items. We made a change to the structure of the building in terms of making sure that it was available at the time when we're looking to start in the spring. Steel joists, which are light gauge members that are typically used to support a building, for example, currently have a 40-week lead time after shop during approvals. So from the time of award, it could be up to 50 weeks before it would be delivered. That's a year out. Steel beams, on the other hand, are pretty much readily available. So we made the change early on a few months ago to make sure that when we start this project in the spring that we have everything that we need. Not only is it supply chain issues, there's also, as everybody's saying, there's some inflationary issues that we're dealing with also. So trying to keep everybody appraised on the team so that we end up making good progress when we need to going forward. It's an ongoing thing. I get notification pretty much multiple times a week. We just bid a project, for example, and light fixtures went up 14% from the time we bid it to the time when the award was made. It's crazy right now. So just trying to keep everybody appraised that it's a crazy market. We're trying to keep our finger on the pulse so that we can guide our clients moving forward as best we can.
And I think understanding as somebody, as a happy homeowner, my wife and I had to replace a refrigerator, and that took 8 weeks, actually.
Yep.
Thank God I have a Yeti cooler, so anyways, But, yeah, if you could keep this board abreast of any
Absolutely.
anticipated type of problems. I'll open up to further questions. Alderman Dow?
Yeah, I would just like to concur that we've been experiencing that these issues with the school building project, and Harvey is way ahead of the stuff. We had to order the steel for the new school a couple of weeks ago. First to lock in the price because the price was going up, and also the lead time. Roofing material, if we didn't order the roofing material a couple of weeks ago, we wouldn't have had it to put it on the roof of the new school. We're still waiting for roofing material for Pennachuck, which is just coming in the next couple of days. So the supply chain is an issue, but as I said, Harvey is all over it to stay on top of it.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely. Director Cummings?
Thank you. I know we have a motion on the floor right now, so I'm not sure if you want to vote that motion, but I do want to speak to the comments that were just made right now relative to supply chain.
What do you feel comfortable? You can speak.
Well, it's somewhat of a different, I don't
Oh,
want to
so
hijack
it's a
the
different,
conversation.
okay.
It is, yeah.
All right, then, if you can yield for a few seconds, I'll open up for another question on the pending motion. Alderman Jettie?
Well, to Mr. Dubois, so the switching from steel joist to steel beams, what's the difference? And is that going to?
Yeah, it's actually a stiffer building. It's actually, in my opinion, it's going to be a better overall product. Joists are light gauge members. There's less tonnage. You've probably been in buildings where all of a sudden you feel like the floor might be moving if there's enough people walking at the same time. Steel beams, 5 feet on center, and a good concrete slab on top gives you a very stiff, it's like this building, you're not going to feel nothing. So overall, it's a better product in the end. Much better product in the end.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
And
if I may.
Sure, absolutely,
The
please.
problem that we're seeing is Amazon, for example, I've been told, has a $5 billion with a B construction program going on. and they have tied up almost 30% of the marketplace, just feeding them. As you heard what's going on potentially in Hudson, those size buildings, and they're all steel trusses and steel joists. So it's just been very difficult to get your hands on stuff like that lately. Hence the reason we talked to the folks and the designers to make an appropriate change.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I'll open up to any other further questions by members of the Joint Committee. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those who are in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Nay. Motion carries. At this time, I'll yield to Director Cummings, who,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you hit a very critical issue for us, and I appreciate the conversation right now. So there is a particular supply chain issue that I want to make everyone aware of that I'm struggling with, and I'm not sure how best to handle at this time, and it's relative to roofing. And so Harvey Construction has made it clear that they really need to be cut loose early to procure the roof for this building. However, we don't have all the funding sources in place yet to actually have a project in hand. So we're in a little bit of a catch-22. This is an order of magnitude type of expenditure of, between $300,000 and $500,000 type of cost. I think what I would recommend to you, and I wanted to kind of start that conversation now, is that I would be coming back before you in the next, week or two, or, get this body together again and have along the parallel course of the bonding resolution that would be coming through, some sort of authorization so we could move the roofing expenditure in advance of every other material that we would need to purchase. Because otherwise, it's going to cost us more money in the long run because it will push the timeline and the schedule out. We won't finish the building as we were originally projecting, and we would have to carry the building for an additional year with winter conditions, and that will only increase costs. I think Carl wanted to speak to it, and he could probably do it better than I could.
If I may be recognized,
yes.
I will tell you, we put the roofing out to bid. We've got 3 bids. The apparent low bidder, I was hoping to hear back from before I sat in this meeting. My thought is they're actually rationing out, suppliers are rationing out insulation to try to keep everybody going at this point in time. If we were to order, for example, if we were to order this roofing materials in November, based on an 8-month lead time, it would arrive probably in the time that we need it. If something was to happen on this project, God forbid, was to be canceled, I don't think the city would have an issue. I was trying to hear from the roofer and get it in writing that they'll use that material somewhere else because there's such a shortage. That I did not get today, but I'm still pursuing that. And there's no expense to the city until they take ownership, until it's delivered. And that ain't happening until June of next year at this point in time.
So
So
these
there
are,
will be no expense per se.
So
But
this
you
is,
have to- you will be under contract, I just want you to understand that.
so these are some of the details that we're working through over the next couple of weeks that, what I think I would like to recommend is we have some sort of early contract to authorize Harvey to procure the roofing material. And so I'd be looking to get this body's approval and probably get finance committee's approval because that would be a contract. And run that along parallel course with the bonding authorization. So we could have, so we wouldn't have to wait till the full bonding was done and we had the full funding available before we started the contracting process or the notice to proceed type process that we would traditionally do. That, in theory, we wouldn't be issuing a notice to proceed until, at the earliest, probably somewhere around, mid-December, and most likely probably just the first of the year. So, that's, and I'm trying to just get a little bit ahead of that so we can maintain our schedule. So, I guess more to come on that, but I just I wanted to make everyone aware of this development. I sent an email or communication to the Board of Aldermen, probably about 4 weeks ago now, talking about supply chain issues and cost of construction costs, because I anticipated these types of issues coming up, and hopefully folks saw that communication that I sent around to the Board of Aldermen. So this shouldn't be a surprise, so.
Okay. I do have one question, if I may, not to put you on the spot, but after we sold the Burke Street facility, we did have that monies, and there is a time clock theoretically on that, so can that money get into to help us out in this type of situation, or we're talking a different animal, in case somebody has that question?
No, Mr. Chair. You're talking about a source of funds. That would be one of 3 or 4 sources that we're compiling to get to the total project cost. That money, that cash is readily available to us. We would just need to have authorization to spend it.
Okay. Alderman Dow?
Yeah, once the project's legislatively approved and you have your budget, the way the bonds are issued, because you're going to have to do Broad Street money, not Broad Street, the Burke Street property first. But the new treasurer will work that out. They handle that. And just for people that might not be aware, we don't buy the bonds when we start the project. Once the monies start getting spent, then the treasurer issues bonds. So the bonds are issued much later. So,
Well,
If I may, Mr.
No, absolutely, go ahead.
So Alderman Dowd raises a really good point, and actually, it's probably a good time for me to just remind everyone of the various sources of funds we'll be using. So in terms of how we get to our $15.1 million project. So I appreciate you bringing this up, Alderman Dowd. So first and foremost, we have general obligation bonds already authorized at $6 million. There's a general fund cash escrow that has already been authorized at $500,000. Then we would be looking to use the proceeds from the Burke Street sale at $3.6 million, repurposing of the Broad Street Parkway of $2 million. That brings us to a total of about $12.1 million. And what I believe Alderman Dowd is referencing is the last part of it, which is we would be submitting legislation. As you recall, we asked for approval of this at the August meeting for what was $2 million. We'll be looking for $3 million to have a total project cost of $15.1 million, which is what we would be using for this project. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Alderman
Oh,
Dowd.
okay. Now, my question, another question to Director Cummings. It seems prudent what you're asking with the roofing materials. What's the best way for this board to handle it? Just to give you a verbal authorization, or would you like a motion with, and to approve it?
It wouldn't be just this body. If this body was willing to today to authorize an expenditure for the roofing material, I would then get the paperwork ready and I would submit it to the Finance Committee.
Okay, then my question would be to, you've done this before in joint special.
a couple of times.
It would probably be best be done with a motion then, with a recommendation to the,
Typically, you're going to put in a,
We'll put an RTA,
yeah,
recommendation
so they'll give
to
you
award.
what's being bought, how much it costs and everything, and you just need to approve that, and as chair, you'll need to sign it, and good to go.
okay. So we could just do it verbally and then, or do you want the motion to appear?
Well, it's not my call.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking for direction.
I'd recommend a motion.
A motion.
And it would be a not to
I
exceed.
would think, that's why I'm trying to look for the cleanest way to get this done.
A motion-
Exactly.
A motion not to exceed, based on a number that Harvey Construction provides
Okay.
for roofing material.
All right, you seem to have an interest with Commissioner Moriarty. Are you willing to make that particular motion?
Yeah, what is that number not to exceed? Was it 300,000? Is that what I heard?
No, I think it's a little more than that.
Actually, I'd make it, I'll double check this, but I believe, based on our latest numbers, that if you made it not to exceed $400,000, you're gonna be fine.
That would be my motion to approve Harvey to secure the roofing material not to exceed $400,000.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't know if I've lost track here, but Isn't there a
Yeah, it
pending
did move
motion?
kind of quickly, I can understand that, yeah.
Isn't there a pending motion to approve the construction manager's contract?
That just happened.
That just, we
Yeah, we just, I thought we already
We already
approved.
voted?
Yes.
Okay, so, see, I told you I was losing
No,
track.
no, you're doing a fine job. You're doing a fine job. Commissioner Shoneman, what I'm going to do is accept a motion, and then I'll open the motion up for discussion, and then you'll be the first question by decorum, okay, if you don't mind, please. All right, so the motion before us is up to $400,000
Yes.
for the purchase of securing a roofing material. We'll work on the language on that. I'll open it up for discussion, and I recognize Commissioner Shoneman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. What I understood from the discussion that we just had was that we don't actually pay for these materials until we get them, which is nearly a year out. So why are we securing the financing now?
I think Mr. Du Bois would like to have a backing before he goes out and purchases, that this particular board would authorize that particular cost. And I think best would be referred to Director Cummings. There you go. Yeah, you yield to...
Yeah, please.
A man who's done this before that I'm learning.
Just a few times.
Alderman Dow.
So they can't go out and order it because now it's on their onus to pay for it.
Right.
He needs a motion to obligate the city to pay for it. Now we can go out
and purchase.
and exercise the contract. And it does take a long time. We just ordered the roofing materials for the new school, which is downstream, but it just takes forever to get the roofing material, and it's good to lock in the price before it goes crazy.
True. Yes, well, I think, did you have a follow-up, Commissioner Shoneman?
So this RTA is going to go to finance, but it won't be approved by this board until,
Finance Committee. It has to go to, from here, it would move to Finance Committee. And then once it has Finance Committee approval, it would be authorized.
okay. But the expenditure of the money doesn't come until the product is delivered,
Right.
That's right. We wouldn't
because
release
we're
it.
not even sure we can get the materials.
We can get the materials, it's just got an extended lead time on it right now. So what I'm saying is, by the time it would arrive, will be next year. It'll be late spring, early summer of next year.
You have to get the vendor to
Place the order.
ought to, take the order and put
Get
it
in the queue.
in their pipeline.
Right.
Okay?
However, I do, if I may be recognized? Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
Mr. Dubois.
I do have to issue a subcontract agreement to a subcontractor to purchase that. So I'm looking for an obligation from the city and authorization to say, yes, we will back the contract so that you can place the order. There will be no expenditure until next year, just so you understand.
I see.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Further comments from anybody from the Joint Committee? Seeing none, call for a vote on the pending motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Motion carries. Just to make sure we're up to speed and concur with Alderman Jettie, we did take care of the item number 4, the contract for construction manager, and we did also do the roof. So now we're moving on to number 5, architectural amendments. And there is a communication, but I'm going to lead with Director Cummings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's an amendment to the architecture's contract for just over $40,000. We needed to submit an AOT application to the state. That was a permit that wasn't originally anticipated when we started the project. So as we continued along with design, we needed to initiate that AOT expenditure. That is something that the civil engineer does on behalf of the architect, who is a sub to our architect, HKT. In addition to that, there was some additional design work that needs to be done, as Carl alluded to a few moments ago, about looking at designing the building differently. in incorporating some differing type of material, which is, what we believe we're going to be doing as we continue the design, we needed to have an additional structural review done. So looking to get approval, to forward this, approval by this body, and then to move it on to the Finance Committee for $40,060.
$60. Okay, I'll be looking to open it up for discussion. I will ask for a motion.
Yeah, he just made the motion.
You just made the motion? Mr. Tees? I just wanted to make sure, sorry. Okay, we have a motion to approve the architectural amendments for a total of $40,060, and to submit the amendments to the Finance Committee. I will now open it up for discussion. Any comments from members of the Joint Committee? Seeing none, I will move the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is life cycle cost presentation. And I think now we're going to get away from Director Cummings, and I think we're going to look to you, Mr. DuBois, please.
Thank you. I'm going to try to do this some justice. This is not my report. This is Mr. Parks, and I think he's online or on the phone. So, Richard, if I trip up, you can jump in here and help me. This is a study that they put together. I believe it's in your package.
If he's on Zoom, would it be better for him to do it?
I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, I can do that.
There he is.
There he is.
All right. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, beautiful. So basically, we were asked to put together this life cycle cost estimate based off of, kind of where we were at the project, some information we had gotten from the city on utility rates, as well as kind of estimating service costs and replacement cost of equipment as it failed. So taking all that information and putting it together, we built an energy model for the building, again, where it was at, the 50% CD stage. And again, using the utility rates based off of the systems that we have in our 50% drawings, estimating annual operations costs. You can see those figures there. Tried to keep the tables pretty simple. Spoke with some contractors that do service and reviewed some RS means numbers and came up with an estimated annual PM cost based off of, these systems again, where they're after the 50%. Put together an estimate of, a dollar figure for every 4 years, basically. Some additional monies to be put aside to replace equipment as it failed, larger pieces of equipment, not a wholesale replacement. Again, the residual value, I included that. I listed that figure as 0, again, thinking that this building was going to be maintained by the city afterwards. Not that it's going to have 0 value, but you're not going to try and sell it to get some back at that point in time. All that being said, Carl and the team at Harvey helped us out with the initial building cost, the initial project cost. That's where we got the $11 million from. And we ran these.
If I may. Can I?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Sorry, we don't have what you're looking at, so could you share your screen? I believe?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. Probably pretty confusing if you can't see it. Let me try and figure this out.
Let me see if I can give you permission to share screen.
You're all set. You can share.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
What can you guys see? Can you see my letter here?
Yeah.
All right.
Bigger.
Good. Now I don't have to look
Make that a
at
little
it.
bigger.
I'm sorry?
If
We
you
can
could make
see
that
it, but we can't
print
read
a
it.
little larger so we could read it, that'd be great. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. So a lot of what I talked about here were the dollar values that you can see now. Using an evaluation period of 20 years at an interest rate of 2.5%, using a construction cost of approximately $11 million, as well as average annual operating costs, not only for electricity, but for natural gas, and mechanical PM or preventative maintenance, mechanical equipment replacement costs, again, over that 4-year period. And there's the residual value after that 20-year period. Gross square footage of the project, 25,760 square feet. Initial cost by the gross square footage gave us $427.02. The operational cost is $3.22 a square foot. Using all these figures above, the estimated life cycle cost is roughly $793,596 per year. And this is for scenario 1, which is a 20-year period at 2.5% interest. We'll turn to the next page here. You can see scenario 2. Can everyone read this still?
Yep.
So really the only difference between scenario 1 and scenario 2 is the interest rate. Still the same evaluation period, still the same building, still the same costs. And you can see that really it's the effect on the interest rate. Bumps up the life cycle cost for $810,367 per year. At the bottom here is kind of a summary that I've already said for what the different values mean in the tables above.
Mr. Dubois.
I think what's interesting in this study, granted it's only over a term of 20 years, this building's going to last a lot longer than that, but I think what I came away with from an operational standpoint would be what would be the cost to operate the building from a utility standpoint on an annual basis. So.
Okay, Mr. Dubois, I'm sure there's no problem, but where this was presented via Zoom, could we receive 2 copies of, the presentation by Mr. Parks? One to, Ms. Thibodeau and our clerk to Donna Graham, so that we can put them into the record, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll get them to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Jettie.
So at the last meeting, there was a discussion about, why were we using natural gas when, the city has said that it's going to try to get away from fossil fuels as much as possible, and with the news that we're getting constantly about the climate crisis. And I know that during the last meeting, there was a discussion about that, and the architect, Ms. Semenda, said that she would, go and look at what the alternatives might be and what those, costs might be, so that we could make an intelligent decision about, are we willing to, look at, alternative sources of energy, maybe geothermal or maybe solar or whatever, so that, in view of that, you remember the discussion?
I remember the
You were
discussion.
there.
It did not go unheard, to be honest with you. We're in the process of looking at and evaluating costs to bring water lines from this building back to the, is that a generator building? Is that what we call that, on the landfill?
Yeah, the cogen plant.
because you have free methane with all the trash, you can burn to make hot water and feed this building. So it's primarily free energy because of the methane in the landfill. So we are looking at that right now. So this would all, these numbers would all change based on utility usage in the course of a year if you're pretty much getting free gas all year long.
Okay. So this life cycle cost presentation was not meant to address those issues that were
That's
raised
correct.
at the last meeting?
Now, this addressed the design as it is today, or prior to the discussion about looking at alternatives. And one of the alternatives, thinking outside the box, was we got all this methane gas. Why can't, and we're burning it anyways, why don't we heat the hot water and bring it underground to the building? And you would not be burning fossil fuel, any additional fossil fuel other than what's coming out of the ground that has to be spent anyways. So that's in the process. So I would suspect that these life cycle costs that's in front of you is going to change dramatically on an annual utility usage basis. And we're evaluating the cost now in terms of bringing the lines to the building and what that would take.
Okay, so may I follow up?
Follow up, yes?
So is, so when is the discussion or the decision about how we're going to heat and cool this building? When is that going to be made? Are we going to, it was my understanding that we were going to revisit that decision to use natural gas based upon, you know, what Ms. Semenda was going to look into. Am I correct? Am I not correct in that?
I'll let Janet's on the line, she can answer. I
Well,
think
let-
through the discussion purposes
can-
that we
may
had.
I?
Jim, if you want to fill in.
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
free.
so we can have that conversation, Alderman Jettie, and happy to have that conversation. We're not prepared yet totally to have the conversation, because we're still doing our due diligence, getting the facts together, being able to present numbers to you. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be very costly. It's going to be very costly to do this up front. And as someone who's charged with trying to put the project together in terms of its capital stack and the sources, there's going to need to be an ambition by, you know, the city to increase the total project budget, which, if that's what folks want to do here, happy to do that. That would be the type of conversation, and when we get those details, we can present them to you, but, you know, you're talking order of magnitude of like $1 million. It will be in it, and we need to be comfortable with that. I'm not prepared yet to have that detailed conversation, but it would be coming in short order. I'm trying to just maintain the project schedule right now, knowing that we will add in that additional variable once we get the details.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Dow.
Yeah, we evaluated the geothermal for the new school, and the upfront cost on geothermal is huge. Your payback gets driven way out, and you end up escalating the cost of the project up front, which is nothing we want to do right now. So that's an issue. As far as the solar, I believe we're designing this for solar panels on the roof, even though you got plenty of land out there to do solar panels on the ground as well. But that will power the building and even have excess to go out to the grid. I'm scheduled to have a meeting with Senator Avard. He's trying to expand the net metering to allow the city to gain more cost savings on driving all of our buildings. We're installing solar on all the roofs. Fairgrounds, for anybody that was there today, the whole roof's covered with solar, drives the energy cost of that school, and at times feeds energy out to the grid. So, and there's no cost whatsoever for the city. It's a public-private partnership. We don't have to pay for the solar panels on the roofs, and we enjoy the power to run the buildings. And it won't, there's not enough to generate heat in the building. You're not going to use solar to generate heat.
And if I may.
Director Cummings,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you, and I appreciate Alderman Dowd's comments, and I think we should be focusing on that when we do the garage. And so when we get the garage, and we have that 150,000 square foot building, that's where the solar panels will make the most impact, and I would be looking for us to make sure it was included in when we do that project. I know we're gonna do it sometime in short order, Director Photo.
The mayor's glaring above.
I know.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Jettie.
yeah, so I just want to, to make the comment that, I'm not telling you anything that's not known by all of you. We are in a crisis. We are in a climate crisis. And we cannot, and to deal with that problem, we all have to do what we can to get away from fossil fuels. And, I know that it costs more, but we can't be just looking at the dollar costs today. We have to think about, what are the costs to the environment? What are the costs? I mean, I know Commissioner Shoneman has made, the point about how expensive this project is and how we're passing that on to our children. Well, we should think about what else we're passing on to our children. Are we going to pass on to them, a planet that is unlivable? And I don't mean to be an alarmist, but the alarm bells are ringing. If you read the newspaper, if you watch the news, you have to be aware of what is happening. So I think we cannot be, I understand we all want to, we all have a fiduciary obligation to the taxpayers about, spending their money. But we also have an obligation to them to preserve their environment. And, once we, so I encourage us to get the information, and, then once we have the information, we can make a decision about whether we can, do this project in a better way, or not. But I would encourage us not to be solely concerned about, what is this going to cost in dollars and cents now? We should be concerned about what is it going to cost, in a larger, from a larger point of view. So I'm looking forward to hearing that information, and let's reserve the decision until we get the information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Alderman Jettie. Okay.
Brian, may I just say?
Yes.
I just want to clarify one
Director
thing,
Fong.
too. The power and the heat would not come from the actual methane. It would actually come from the generators, the heat from the generators that produce the power. So I just wanted to clarify that it's actually from the heat from the generators. So we are researching that, and we'll definitely have a price, Alderman Jettie, and present it to this group, and the decision can be made as to whether we proceed. But we are working on that.
And so, and if I could just,
Absolutely, Alderman Jettie.
thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. So, I just saw a presentation about this, and the person who was speaking was talking about how, alternative forms of energy, like, like wind and solar, and he talked about solar. The cost of solar continues to go down. The cost of constructing the materials that, these solar panels, is constantly going down, and it's soon to go below the cost of natural gas. So, in the future, according to this person, the future is in electricity generated by solar. And, we've got a large space there at the landfill, where solar panels, not just on the roof, but there's a lot of land there where solar panels could be installed. So that's, and I'll drop my, I'll jump off my soapbox there. Thank you.
No, we appreciate your advocacy. Alderman Lowe, you will have to come up to a mic.
Thank you. I just had a couple questions about the life cycle analysis. And there are two versions. Did you say the only difference is the interest rate?
Yes.
That's what was reported, yes.
Okay. So is that the interest rate of borrowing costs? Is that the cost to borrow?
Yeah, I can answer that. So that was what was recommended to us by the treasurer in the treasurer's department.
Sure. No, I don't mean, is that
But do-
accurate? I meant, is that an interest rate that we would
I think
hypothetically
we'll
pay up?
do better. We'll do better, but we're being conservative. I don't know what we'll get, but somewhere between 2 and 2.5%.
I'm sorry, what I wanted to ask is that the interest rate, a theoretical interest rate on borrowing, on the funds borrowed for the project?
Again, it is a conservative projection that we were recommended to use for the modeling. We expect we will do better, somewhere between 2 and 2.5%.
I think you're saying yes, but it sounds like you don't get the gist of my question. My question isn't whether it's accurate, but whether this interest rate, are you talking about the interest rate paid on our borrowed
Yes,
funds?
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
It had no question about, I knew it was theoretical. So this life cycle analysis isn't really a comparison of two different ways of, because I saw that it seems that this process is typically done to analyze a couple of different ways of green approaches to building, is what I have seen it used for. You want a green building, it's going to cost you more upfront. So I had expected that when you were pulling out the life cycle analysis, we would be looking at a couple of versions of how we decide to power this project. Not necessarily, the difference in an interest rate on borrowing funds. So
No,
do you typically do a lifestyle analysis?
Mr. Fox can answer that, or I'll take a swing at it. Currently, based on the design and what we have, that's what he based it on. As I said to Mr. Jetty, I think this is going to change if we decide to move forward, for example, with the hot water coming from the generators, in lieu of using fossil fuel to burn within the building. That would be, here's your fossil fuel, here's your boilers in the building. If we get it from the generators, that would be your life cycle cost. That would be comparing one system to another. That would be forthcoming, and the same with solar. I mean, we'd have to talk to Revision Energy on this building. I could tell you that's not a very big roof. The square footage is only 12,500, less the elevator protrusion, less the rooftop units. We're waiting to hear back to see if that would even be viable for them based on that amount of square footage. To Alderman Jetty's point, there's a lot of land out there, and that's something else that could be looked at. And there's a tremendous amount of land that's capped, that whether it's viable to put solar panels on that would have to be asked, but it can be looked at. So then you would be looking at, based on ultimately what could be designed today, if you're looking at just the building, what the cost of the system would be versus just buying everything off the grid. So this is one pass at many that could be forthcoming depending on the systems that are being proposed.
Okay. So as an analysis, it's an analysis of two different interest rates, correct?
Currently, right now, yes.
Okay. And has the committee had a chance to hear from our energy specialist about Alderman Jetty's, questions about different, I don't know whether, I don't know what solar or heat pump, the relative costs or efficiencies or, or environmental benefit of each. But is that someone that we would ask for that type of?
Doria Brown, who is our energy manager, is involved in all of these discussions.
Okay, great. And I know that the question's been asked several times, and I heard Director Cummings say that it would be an awful lot, but it seems like what we really need to know is how much would it be, rather than just disregard it. And I just want to say that I agree with Alderman Jetty in the sense that even our pension, our New Hampshire pension, is becoming such a problem because of the general, one thing, I mean, definitely the state, we don't like what they did, but the idea that we can't pass on to other generations costs, and the environment is one of these costs. So I think that's a very important consideration to actually value and quantify. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Alderman Lou. Right now, we'll open it up for the final public comment. Anybody in the chamber would like to come up? Seeing nobody from the public, Director Cummings, can you check online just to see if we have any Zoom hands raised?
Yep, we got Mr. Shea here.
Okay. Mr. Shea, I will recognize you for public comment.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. I just wanted to hop on this evening and join for the meeting and listen in. And I don't have too much to say other than I do appreciate Alderwoman Liu and Alderman Jetty's comments and questions regarding quantifying costs for green energy solutions for the project. And I'll be interested to see how those numbers come together as well. I hope you're all having a great evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. And now I'll be looking for any type of general comments or remarks by members of the Joint Committee. Seeing none, so everybody can anticipate what's going on here. As you know, one of the big timelines, it looks like hopefully we'll get this thing going by spring of 2022. This is why we'll be the hard work, and there will be an additional meeting that will be coming up. Right now, taking the holidays and everything in mind, anticipate somewhere, I think we'll work with Director Photo and Director Cummings on the exact date. It will be determined, but it's going to be in early December. So if you can kind of keep that in mind, we'll be working on that, and we'll meet together as a joint committee. Seeing that, a motion to adjourn is always in order. Can I have a motion? Mr. Mayor?
Move we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I'll declare the meeting ended at 18:08 or 6:08.